Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and welcome to No Budget Reviews, the series where we go around the country finding cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and filming them with absolutely no money at all. So we have to use my phone, no microphones, no fancy DSLRs, nothing like that. Just good honest cars that you can buy for very little money and you can enjoy driving. Right viewers, yet more MG Rover era indulgence on this channel. There is Jude, who is the owner of this car, putting away his R3 Rover 200, which you would have already seen by now. This is a 2000 Rover 45 1.4 IE hatchback. I know I've already reviewed a Rover 45, my own 45 V6, on Tweed Jacket Reviews, but again, I'm a bit of a sucker for these cars, and I did own a 1.4 hatchback version of this. It was a post-facelift one, unlike this very, very early pre-Project Drive car, which has a few bits in it which I will show you, which they took out on later models. This is the absolute base spec on the 45. No alloy wheels, no electric mirrors, no electric windows. But actually from the outside it doesn't look too bad. This car's only done 22,000 miles and it's actually got Rover fleet plates on it. The DA suggests that it was registered by, I think it was just a Rover group at the time. And then it was sent to SMC Rover in Uxbridge and sold to the previous owner, who kept it for about 20 years. It's actually in very nice condition. It's got some typical Rover 45 issues, and I'll show you those in a little bit. But I'm very grateful to, again, once again, to Jude for offering me this car, because it is, yes, it's just the opposite to mine. Absolute poverty spec. But if we look inside, early car, so we've got the 75 style seats, which look really nice actually. Just get in here. Driver and passenger airbags, of course, in a 45, even on this base spec car. There's a glove box just big enough for secret mission documents. And windy windows. Here's the owner's handbook. This is an earlier car, so this is not also including the service history. And we've got wooden door caps on the top here, which wasn't something they deleted later on. Got a proper Philips stereo. Some other 45s have a BMW stereo, but this has the Philips stereo and nothing here. There should be two heated seat buttons and an air conditioning button there, but in this car there are not. We've got nice wood surrounding the gear lever. This is the 75 style gear lever, although this is an R65 gearbox. And we've actually got the controls for the stereo here too, which mine car does not have. But this being the base spec, it's a plastic steering wheel, no leather trim at all. No front fog lights, and the earliest style of instruments that 45s use. I don't know why they changed the dashboard to the 75 style white ones, but I just prefer those personally. That's just, the way that I am. Normal handbrake, of course, in this car. Does this, wow, gosh, there's actual leather on top of there. The later 45s don't have actual leather. It's just a sort of plasticized thing that's very, very firm. That was definitely taken out in Project Drive. No cassette holder storage, unfortunately. If we open up here, there we go. We do have the 12-volt socket and the ashtray, but it doesn't look like it's ever been used, which is brilliant. Right, let's get in the back. Those of you who've seen the Tweed Jacket Reviews episode on my 45 V6 will know that I'm not the biggest fan of the rear seat space in here, but I'm actually in, and my knees are in there, and my head is touching, but it's not as bad as the other one was. Obviously typical Rover sagging headlining, which has been fixed. No electric windows. Still got the ashtray though. No headrest at the back of here either. And it is a 60-40 split rear seat in here as well. No central armrest, only available on the higher trim models. But somebody's got genuine Rover mats in the back. I like those very much, viewers. Excellent. Normally on a 45, you can use either the key fob, or you can use the remote boot release inside the cabin to open up the boot, but this one, the remote release is broken, so I'm going to use the key. There we go. Typical Rover 45, the interior trim for the boot is coming away. That was exactly the same on my 2004 1.4 Club SE, which also looked like this. I think those are speakers for the radio in the back of there, because they're not actually in the rear doors. Little area here for trying to put something securely. I think the boot of one of these is about 380 litres, it's something like that. It's quite a flat boot because of this sort of rear shape of the car, but it's actually not too bad. I just get a load of stuff in mine. Underneath here, in my car, would have been a full-size alloy spare wheel as well. I don't know what's in this particular one. The boot thought it was a bit difficult to sort of get up with one hand, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it's pretty good in here. You can believe very well this car has only done 22,000 miles. So if we go into the front, a nice familiar drive position. Oh, that's nice and comfortable. I do like it. If we just switch her on, I'll show you this ultra low mileage. There we go, 22,915 miles. Fantastic. Of course, the stalks are different from mine. We've actually got a rear wiper insert here, unlike mine, because mine's a saloon. That one does exactly the same. Later 45s actually post facelift have different stalks, which are slightly actually nicer than these. The illuminated keyring, which is missing from mine because mine's a project drive car. So viewers, instead of a lovely huge KV6 in here, we have a 1.4K series engine developing 103 horsepower. A lot more room in here to sort of work on the engine than there is. I mean, the KV6's spark plugs at the back are really bad in terms of accessibility. This is the earlier type, so we've got the earlier security control units and ECUs and things. It's quite a small battery really for this type of car, but the battery clamps on these are really difficult to get. Another thing that's hard to get in one of these, and this funny enough is different coolant from my one. Mine has the OAT red coolant, this is a different type, is the header tank here. It's quite hard to get hold of some of these sometimes, and they are expensive when they come up a lot of the time, but I've just ordered one for mine because they're identical in the KV6 and the K Series 45 from Brown & Gammons, which has been an MG and Rover dealer for I don't know how long. There up there is the fuel filter and a fuse box. Obviously on the K Series engines, I always say, a lot of these, if the head gaskets have gone, are best replaced with an original spec one, a good quality one like a Victor Rhine set. And if you want to replace a head gasket, you've got to make sure that somebody knows what they're doing and they do a proper job. It was fashionable about 10 years ago to fit a multi-layer steel gasket when the head gasket on the K Series went, but those in service haven't proven to be as good as actually they could have been. So yes, good quality original spec head gasket, maybe Victor Rhine, something like that. Will see you with your problem solved. Definitely somebody who knows what they're doing, though, in terms of fitting it. You do get more economy and horsepower from having the head gasket properly done in one of these cars. But don't be afraid of the K Series by any means. Just make sure that you know, the solution you've got for this problem is in good condition. Right, viewers, we're only going to go for a very brief drive today because Judah said I can take it on some private land. Because we haven't actually got any tax today, so we're going to be very careful and we're just going to stick to the roads very nearby. So, engines available in a 45, 1.4K series, 103 horsepower, 1.6K series, 110 horsepower, 1.8K series, 118 horsepower, or just 120 for the sake of ease, 2 litre KV6, 150 horsepower. Automatics were 1.8 litres, and also standard on the KV6 2 litre. Gearboxes are R65, gearbox on 1.4 and 1.6 litre units, and then on the 1.8 you got the nice PG1 gearbox. PG1 gearbox also went into the diesel units. If you're talking about the MG ZS that was very similar to this, then you also had a couple of other engine options. The principal one of those was the 2.5 litre 180 horsepower KV6 with a Getrag 5-speed manual gearbox from the MG ZT. The automatic gearbox on the 1.8 is a CVT unit. I think it's known as Steptronic. On the 45 V6 though, that's a 5-speed Jatco unit, which is taken from a Rover 75 as well. To drive this car feels good. It reminds me of my old one that I had many years ago. Visibility is a bit better in the hatchback than the saloon. But obviously I'd recommend parking sensors if that is a problem for you. For those of you who haven't watched my Rover 45 V6 review, there's a lot more information in that than I'm going to give today. This is just a very brief video of this particular car. So I will go over the trim levels, and on a 45 they are quite complicated. So the pre-facelift hatchback had IE, IL, IS, IXL, IXS, Impression, Impression S, Spirit and Spirit S trim levels. The pre-facelift saloon had Classic, Club, Connoisseur, like mine's a Connoisseur, Impression S, Olympic Impression S and Spirit S trim levels. There are also variations on the Impression S. I think the Impression S and Impression S 2 and 3 as well. In 2004 there was a facelift for the 45, which by then was quite an old design because this is originally based on a Japanese market car called the Honda Damani that came out in 1992. It was similar to the Mark 5 Honda Civic 5-door, or some people call them the Swindon Civic because they were built in Swindon. And then the Rover 400, the HHR 400 that we will actually be reviewing probably later on this week on No Budget Reviews, you'll also see that. So post facelift, which was early 2004 and really only lasted for a year because MG Rover went bankrupt in 2005, the trim levels were sort of rationalised between the saloon and the hatchback. So we had Classic, Classic SE, Club, Club SE, Connoisseur, GLI and GSI. The GLI and GSI were very interesting because they were cars with a solid leather interior. The GLI, I think, was quite a lowly spec model, but it just sort of had it had leather. That was the main thing. The GSI is very nice. They're lovely, those. One thing to bear in mind though, that is actually something important if you're buying a Rover 45, and the K series engine ones are normally available for well under £1,000, is that the key fob is very important. This is the earlier type of key fob, which is called the Lucas remote. There's a later type of key fob, which is called the Pectron remote, which came in mid-2003, with the dials actually being changed. The dashboard didn't change until the Facelift of 2004, but there were some minor changes brought in. The dials changed to the Rover 75 type that I've got in my car on all models of 45. And the remote went from the Lucas type to what's called a Pectron type, which is a round remote. They are a bit of a pain if you lose them, and the BCU or SCU, security control unit, body control unit, whatever you want to call it, is situated where water can actually get into it. It doesn't always happen, but on my car this happened. The water ran into that control unit and I had to replace the whole thing, and I had to buy 2 new key fobs at a cost of something like £300-400, which would actually write off a lot of the 45 petrols, unfortunately, at the moment. So it's worth checking that you've got 2 key fobs with the barcodes with them that you can program, and that the ECU is, or the ECU for the security and the body control unit is still good. Otherwise, you have issues like the intermittent wiper function not working, the driver's window can get stuck down. It's pretty crazy. Stuff like that happens, and you know, eventually you can get stuck because the alarm is going off all the time, things like that. So it's best to go for the pre-2003 cars, in my opinion, but only on the K series is the car ultra-low emission zone compliant after mid-2003 with a Pectron remote. For some reason, the sort of 2003 model year onwards 45 V6s are also compliant, well, those only ran until I think May 2004, so there's very, very few facelift ones available. Most are pre-facelift. Anyway, that's an awful lot of information, but it's useful if you're going to buy one of these cars. So then, what do I think of this really low mileage 45 1.4? Well, it's interesting to see actually that in some ways this car is slightly better than mine. It's got more wood in it, it's got the illuminated keyring, and it's got these extremely comfortable seats. A lot of people say that the earlier seats are a lot better, and I don't know, I think the later ones are also good, but I'm very comfortable in this car indeed. So it's a very, very, very good car to have as a run around. There are obviously issues. Rust is one of them. You know, key fobs can be. You know, the door cards often come away. The headlinings have to be fixed, and the clock doesn't work in this car, which is the same as mine. They just don't tend to work after a while. But there isn't relatively easy fix, but you have to take a lot of trim parts out to do that. So they're not necessarily trouble-free, but what car that you can buy with sort of family space in it isn't completely trouble-free this era? A lot of cars do rust, a lot of them have issues, so there we go. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for probably more Rover content and other things too. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below. And I look forward to seeing you again on another episode of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to visit my Facebook page, facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting, and also Instagram, instagram.com/Lloyd_Vehicle_Consulting. Thank you.